Who can tell me? When was Jesus conceived? Huh? All right, I'll help you out for time. Luke chapter, what? 2, I believe? No, 1. Luke chapter 1, right. Luke chapter 1, excuse me. Luke chapter 1, right? So we know in Luke chapter 1, Gabriel comes to talk to Mary, right? And in verse 36, he says, behold, thy cousin Elizabeth has also conceived a son in her old age. And this is the what? Verse 36.
6 months.
This is the 6th month with her. Luke 1:36, who was called barren. All right, now watch this. God said to Mary, you're going to have, through Gabriel, you're going to have a child. And at the day when he told her that, her cousin, her older cousin, Elizabeth, who could not have a child at her age, he told her she's now pregnant. In other words, he gave her a little reference point to show her what he could do. And he said, and she's 6 months pregnant right now. Are we together?
Yes.
Is it in the scripture?
Yes.
Now, what did Mary do right after God told her that? Huh? She went to go visit Elizabeth. Why did she go visit Elizabeth? To verify what God said. Huh? I mean, it was like she said, let me go. You know, hey, God tell you you're ready to birth Jesus Christ. I think you kind of, you know, do a Gideon and say, let me confirm this, you know. Because he told her that for her to confirm. He said, because, let's read it. He said, remember right before this, she was wondering how could these things be, right?
Yes.
And he told her, don't worry about it. He said, with God, nothing shall be impossible, right?
Yes. Nothing.
Right?
Right.
Okay, so here we go. Give me 1 second. I'm just looking for something here. Okay, so, yeah, verse 37, he says, for with God, nothing shall be impossible. But in verse 36, he says, behold, your cousin Elizabeth has conceived a son in her old age. This is the 6th month with her who was called barren. And verse 38 says, and Mary said, behold, the handmaid of the Lord, I will do what you ask me. Verse 39, watch this. Verse 39, very next verse. And Mary arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste. Did you see that? Yes. With haste into the city of Judah and into the house of Zacchaeus and saluted Elizabeth. In other words, on a particular day, we don't know what that day was, but Gabriel, well, I'll change that comment because I think I even know what that was. Gabriel told Mary, you are going to have the Son of God. And your cousin Elizabeth is 6 months pregnant. Mary then, hearing that news, made haste to go see. She went from Nazareth to some city of Judah. She went, let's read it, verse 39, went into the hill country with haste into a city of Judah. Went into the hill country. Now, good Lord, traveling to Bethlehem is from Nazareth 90 miles, so the hill country was not that long. In other words, it didn't take her that long, and she made haste. So what? I don't know. Day 2 just to get there. The point is, she got there. Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant. Right? And when she got there, what happened? John the Baptist leaped in Elizabeth's womb, and Elizabeth said what?
She was filled with the Spirit.
Yeah, he was filled with the Spirit. But Elizabeth basically lauded her and pronounced that, hey, I know that you have the child. You are the mother, and you have conceived Jesus Christ. Right. She confirms that at this point, 6 months into my pregnancy, so I'm 6 months ahead of you. All right. Now, here's the key. the key to the whole analysis turns on when Zacchaeus ministered in the temple. Going back to Luke chapter 1, right? Going back to Luke chapter 1, it says, hold on. Verse what? 5. Let's look at it. All right. Verse 5, there was in the days of Herod the king of Judea a certain priest named Zacchaeus, and of the course of Abia. Of the course of Abia. That's the key right there. He was a priest named Zacchaeus in the days of Herod, but of the course of Abia. And his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. They were both righteous, etc. Now, it came to pass, verse 8, that while he executed the priest's office before God in the order of his course. That's it. That's the key right there. The key is he was of the course of Abia, and he executed his office in the order of his course. So then the question is, what is the course of Abia? Because if we know that he did it in accordance with Abia, then whenever the Abia course was to be performed, we then would know when he performed it, and it was after that that his wife is going to conceive, and then we go 6 months. So guess what the answer is? The answer is, the theologians studied it out, and if you have a Jewish mind and a Jewish understanding, the course of Abia, see, everything with them is a Jewish calendar. The course of Abia would be in June. It would be in like mid or late June. So you take 6 months from there. You take 6 months from there. When Elizabeth was 6 months old, 6 months pregnant, it was in December. When Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, it was in December. Now watch this. She only had 3 more months to go, right? John the Baptist was born in what? In March. I got to check this out. I don't want to mistake myself, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was born, I think he was either born on Passover, but he was born in Holy Week. John the Baptist. But wait a minute. Jesus, when John was 6 months before him, right? So then, what do you have to do then? You got to add 6 more months, right? So what's 3 and 6? Puts you right back in September. It puts you right back. See, there's 2 different ways to approach it, but it puts you right back in September. Now here's the coup de grace to the whole thing. Because what happened when Pastor was walking, he just said, all I heard God say was 2 words. The feast. The feast. If every major thing in Jesus' life could be explained by the feast, his death, his resurrection, it doesn't make any sense then that we don't know his birth, because God's not a God of disorder. It has to be orderly. It has to be a structure. It has to be. And the structure is the feast. And I know one thing, and that is, I know when he's coming back according to the feast. And guess what? So I did deal with this in one sense tonight, and that was I told you about Triduum.
Yes.
Triduum were the 3 major feasts. And that's the key. The death, then the Pentecost, and then the trumpets. The key feast that's going to define everything for all of us is trumpets. That's when the Lord's coming back. That's when he's coming back. But here's an interesting thing. Trumpets happens in the month called Tishri. Tishri. And guess what's interesting about Tishri? That's the Jewish New Year. The Jewish New Year starts with Tishri. And the Feast of Trumpets is in Tishri, but to make a long story short, the very first day of Tishri is September 11th. Is that deep? Is that deep? The very first day of Tishri is 9/11, September 11th. And the point is that is when trumpets start. That is the end of the whole, what they call the 7-year feast months, the 7 months of feast. It is the last. It is the culmination of all the months of the feast. The point I'm trying to make is whether you go from the star, the constellations, or whether you go through John the Baptist, at the end of the day, now here's the kicker. I got to end with this. Jesus was born in the fall. Jesus was born on September 11th. But here's the real kicker. God, I just feel so bad. Now I know that Jesus was born in the fall. And now that I know this, I know I'm responsible for what I know. So I can't celebrate Christmas no more on the 25th of December because I just can't do that if I know the truth. Now, guess what? Remember what I said? That when Mary went to Elizabeth, Elizabeth was 6 months with child, and Mary was just conceived. In the Jewish mind, custom, and tradition, your birth is regarded as when you were conceived. And Jesus was conceived on December 25th. My time is up, and I thank you for listening. Amen. So from a Jewish mind, that was his birth. It was really when he was conceived. And 9 months later is when he was manifest. And that Tishri is not only, remember how we talked about how everything started on a Sunday, creation started on a Sunday, the nation of Israel started on a Sunday, the church started on a Sunday. Well, guess what? They believe that all creation in time started on a Sunday, but it started on the Sunday in Tishri, meaning all creation started in the fall. Isn't that something? Let's give God some praise, man. And Jesus is gonna come back in the fall. Heads are bowed, eyes are closed.